Okay, Shanghai Daily Newspaper. This is Wednesday, August 3rd. Report. Hangzhou taxi strike. Policemen and taxi drivers gather around cabs parked on the road during a strike in Hangzhou in Zhejiang Province, China, yesterday. Striking cab drivers in the tourist city who are denouncing rising fuel prices and demanding the government make good on pledges to raise fares, abandoned their vehicles for a second day in planned street protests despite a heavy police presence. Hundreds of idle cabs lined the roads in the outlying residential area. By mid-afternoon, taxis had all but deserted in the center of Hangzhou. Okay, this ties into exactly what I saw a week ago. I spent some time in Beijing, and I had trouble getting a taxi. It seemed like wherever I was at, taxis would pass me by, and not just because I'm a foreigner, but they would do the same for Chinese. The tour guide that I was with, they also passed us by. The cabs were empty. Some of them were lined up in the streets. We would approach them, and in Chinese, try to get a taxi, and they refused to on the clock. They would only do so off the clock at a pre-negotiated price, such as most black taxis do in China. These are unmarked cars that give taxi services illegally. It's very popular in every single city. They negotiate a price, and that's off the meter. So in finding out why this was the case, because we were quite confused by it, the person I was accompanying with had spoke to a taxi driver in Beijing, and he laid it out for her exactly what was going on, and it ties into what we're seeing over the past several days in Hangzhou and other cities. Social unrest, labor issues. There are uprisings here. The facts have been somewhat suppressed. You will find some news on Reuters and maybe some other news outlets in the United States, but I suspect that there isn't much coverage. There's unrest because these fuel prices have gone up. Now when you take a cab in many cities, you have to pay an extra 1, 2, or even 3 RMB in a gas tax. And last year, I don't remember paying anything in a gas tax beyond the meter cost. I know in Nanjing, last year, a little over a year ago, there was a 1 RMB gas tax above the meter cost that I paid, and that was the first time that I had seen it. And now it's up around Beijing to 3 RMB beyond the meter cost. And like I said, most taxi drivers won't even pick you up now. The government has reneged on their promise to raise their wages. And as we know in China, as is happening in the United States, consumer inflation is quite high. Some of the consumer inflation here in China is caused by the United States, and all of this money they've been printing, some of it is caused by the Chinese government and the monetary easing they've been doing. But a lot of inflation around the world, and I can give you some facts and figures on this if I have time to do the research, is caused by the U.S. and the collapse of empire. Never have I witnessed a rise in prices like I have over the past 3 years, and that goes for the United States as well as China. I spent some time in Europe. I witnessed the same thing. Consumer prices for things like energy, food, basic necessities, even now services that were quite cheap in China, such as you want to get your shoes shined, you want to get foot massage, you want to get something done. Labor has always been cheap, but even that's starting to rise. And as you'll see here in the following video, is the conversation with the Beijing taxi driver about the taxi strikes and the labor disputes that they're having even today. The Hangzhou labor dispute for taxis goes on. You will also notice that many factories are having labor uprisings that the government is trying to suppress and deny. So following this clip here, the taxi driver from Beijing and it's in Chinese, but I can't do the transcript for it. But here it is.
拿你国家你把油给降了啊，撒我们的份儿钱给降了，是不是？我也说，
份儿钱也在涨吗？
份儿以前1900，现在4600。您
4600，
算算
4600是多少一个月啊？
一个月呀？净份儿钱4600，这油钱呢？天天的。
那剩下给自己就真没多少了。
你这不可能一个月1天不休吧？
这倒是。
你休1天就背了100多块钱积木。这份儿钱就100多，你待1天都背100多。
真是啊。
说拒载，别说拒载啊，就说为什么不给涨价？你要给涨价，谁拒载呀？北京道路这么堵，一天能拉多少活？您算算这有时间呢，是不是？道路这么堵，能拉多少活一天？一个活给你打30。你算算，这一天有20个活到家了吧？再盘上油钱，再盘上份儿钱，你剩啥呀？
真是啊，不挣钱。
啊，这是同城河。
在这边是吗？
就这儿。